Roll sound, we're rolling.
Mike Nichols said that it's always good to have secrets. It's something that always fascinates an audience, a feeling that someone has secrets. And I think also as an actor, it's good to have secrets. No, for me, it starts with what's written on the page, and then, of course, it's who's going to be involved and who is worth leaving home for, spending this kind of time, which is precious, really. I only met Meg Pulitzer after we had finished shooting. She's so smart and funny and knowledgeable, and she's been through it. She really is a strong voice for women. She just has that gift of storytelling. And the women are not one-dimensional. They're complex and really interesting. For me, she's the kind of woman you say, I want you to be my friend. I want you to be in my life.
Well, my wife doesn't write, thank God. Otherwise, I'd suffer permanent writer's block.
Joan, when you analyze it, is really the strength of that relationship. She's a very strong woman. Whether she would admit that or not, I don't know. In the beginning, they're just crazy in love with each other. One of my favorite moments that I think is very, very human is when he says, how can you stay with me if I'm a hack? And she says, you know, no, if you don't respect me. He said, no, I respect you in a lot of ways, you know. And then she says, I know how to fix it. Do you want me to fix it? And they slip into this complicit relationship. She gets to write and gets to be read, and he is the public face.
We're getting published. We're getting published.
I took from her, and I really understand her not wanting to be in the spotlight, you know, just wanting to do her work and let it be, and the need for creative expression.
Joan, we're not bad people.
Joan is carrying a lot of guilt as well. In many ways, she chose her work over her children again and again and again. The very last thing he says to her is, do you love me? How will I know you're such a good liar? And I think he's not known that for himself their whole relationship. She says yes, of course she says yes, though that was a really awkward moment for me to film. I thought it was so unfair for that character to ask her that question at that particular time. As he's dying, after they've just had a fight, after she said, I'm gonna leave you, finally. And then he's dying and he says, do you love me?
Yes, I love you, Joe.
Of course she says yes, because yes, in a way, somewhere, she does love him. But it's very complicated.
A writer has to write.
A writer has to be read, honey.
It's a very different world post-feminism. Even if women still aren't considered equals in many areas of life, there's many more working couples, both work. My daughter, who just got married, has a totally different kind of relationship with her husband than my mother ever could have had. Annie and I talked a lot about what were the main character traits that were important for Joan. Her shyness, her self-deprecation, I think, and her instinct to want to make him feel better about himself. She could imagine herself back there, and I think she did her work about it. We talked extensively for a whole week before we started shooting.
You have given us a vast, restless, and brilliant body of work. With each book, Mr. Castleman, you have challenged the novelistic form and reinvented the very nature of storytelling and of prose.
I have been in relationships where I've felt diminished and I've felt invisible. It's deadly. And I watched my mother basically defer to my father their whole married life.
Joan truly is my better half.
Why didn't she leave him? I had to answer that question for myself. And in answering that question, I really got to, I think, know that character and understand her and love her. When you think of some of the women that I've played, a lot of them are trying to survive in cultures that are dominated by men. Like, for example, Dangerous Liaisons. She's a brilliant woman who observes how women are ruined and how that happens, and she vows that that's not going to happen to her, so she behaves basically like a man in order to make sure that that does not happen to her. She switches. And you could say Damages, Patty Hughes. She is considered a bitch because she's, first of all, very good at what she does, and she's tough. And she's definitely in a male world. Albert Nobbs, she's very different, but she's a woman surviving in the disguise of a man. So those kinds of characters have fascinated me over the years. I guess, you know, we all are trying to figure out how to live with each other, aren't we? Men and women. I don't think that's ever going to not be interesting and frightening and frustrating and wonderful.
Hello, Joan. You're looking lovely as always.
Thank you, Hal. That's very sweet.
In a way, you could say that this film represents everything that's been going on in Hollywood. It took 14 years to get made. It's all basically a story about a woman by women. Now it's done, and I think it represents the kind of movies that we want to make more of.